What we're looking at here is a Sumerian tablet that actually shows the tree of life, flanked by divine beings. You can see here the Anunnaki on each side.
What if the first humans were never truly created, but engineered through repeated experiments? Recently, artificial intelligence re-examined thousands of ancient Sumerian tablets written more than 4,000 years ago. Texts historians believed they already understood. But hidden beneath broken symbols, the system uncovered something deeply disturbing. Not just myths about gods, not just stories about creation, but repeated records about procedures, failed attempts, and revisions. Here is one chilling line from those records. The seventh attempt failed because it began to speak before it was permitted, and the deeper the AI went, the stranger the pattern became. Different types of humans, assigned roles, restricted knowledge, controlled reproduction. Almost as if early humanity was being designed step by step, tested, modified, and divided long before recorded history even began. Which raises a deeper question. How many versions of humanity came before us, and what exactly were they trying to create? Let's dive in. The Forgotten Tablets. Sumerian texts are some of the oldest written records ever found by humans. They come from ancient settlements in southern Iraq, where early civilizations first learned how to write using clay tablets. These tablets carry marks made by sharp tools, pressed into soft clay thousands of years ago. Over time, the clay hardened and preserved those marks for more than 4,000 years. For many years, experts studied these tablets and believed they understood most of their meaning. They translated stories about gods, kings, farming, and daily life. Many of these texts described how powerful beings shaped humans and gave them a purpose on Earth. For the most part, that was the narrative. But something changed when a new group of scientists decided to use artificial intelligence to study these ancient records again. Instead of reading each tablet one by one, they scanned thousands of fragments into a powerful system. This system compared symbols, shapes, and patterns across many different pieces at the same time. The work did not happen in a busy lab or a public space. It began quietly inside a back room at the Penn Museum, where a small fragment sat for decades without attention. This fragment carried the label CBS 1386. It was very small, about the size of a human palm, and its surface looked broken and incomplete. Earlier researchers believed it only showed damaged accounting marks. They saw no reason to study it deeply. They treated it as a leftover piece from a larger tablet that had already been lost. However, the new team chose to scan even this small and damaged piece. They used artificial intelligence to rebuild the missing wedge marks on its surface. The system compared each tiny shape with thousands of confirmed Sumerian signs from the old Babylonian period, which dates from around 1900 to 700 BCE. The process did not happen instantly. The system studied spacing, angles, and depth of each mark. It carefully matched patterns until it could form complete words again. When the reconstruction finished, the researchers did not see random symbols. They saw a full sentence that had remained hidden for centuries. At first, no one in the room reacted. The sentence looked simple, but it did not match anything they expected from known Sumerian texts. It did not follow the usual stories that scholars had studied for decades. The team checked the fragment carefully. They examined the clay surface and confirmed its age through texture and mineral buildup. They found no signs of modern tools or damage. Everything matched authentic tablets from ancient times. But what was written on this ancient tablet that made scientists recheck everything once again? The forbidden line. The researchers looked again at the reconstructed sentence and read it slowly. It did not sound like a story. It did not sound like a prayer. It sounded like a report. The line clearly stated, "The seventh attempt failed because it began to speak before it was permitted." This one sentence created a serious problem for every expert in that room. For many years, scholars studied ancient texts like the Eridu-Genesis and the Atrahasis story. In those accounts, gods created humans in a single act. They shaped them with clay or mixed divine blood, and the process ended there. No version ever described failure or repeated attempts, but this new line did not follow that pattern. It described something very different. It described a process that took place more than once. It showed that someone tried again and again before reaching a final result. The researchers checked the grammar carefully. They studied each symbol and confirmed that the structure matched known Sumerian writing. The spacing, wedge angles, and connections between signs followed the same style used by trained scribes from the Old Babylonian period between 1900 and 700 BCE. They also checked the physical tablet again. The surface showed natural aging. The mineral layers matched other authentic tablets. No modern tool marks appeared anywhere. The fragment passed every test for authenticity. This meant the sentence did not come from a mistake. It came from a real source written thousands of years ago. The meaning became harder to ignore. If the sentence mentioned a seventh attempt, then at least 6 earlier attempts must have existed. However, the fragment did not include any details about those earlier versions. It only recorded one failure and nothing more. This forced the team to change their approach. They could not rely on a single fragment anymore. They needed to search for more evidence across other tablets. So they expanded the project. They fed over 30,000 tablet fragments into the artificial intelligence system. These fragments came from different locations, including museums in London, Berlin, and private collections. Many of these pieces had never been studied together before. Each fragment carried small parts of larger texts that had broken apart over time. The system began comparing patterns across all of them. It searched for repeated words, phrases, and structures. It did not look at each piece separately. It studied them as one large connected set of information. As the system worked, it started to notice something unusual. Certain words appeared again and again, but they did not behave like normal language. Scholars had translated these words before without concern. They assumed simple meanings and moved on. However, the AI found that these words appeared in fixed patterns. They showed up in the same types of records and always carried similar positions in sentences. This behavior looked less like storytelling and more like labeling. The system treated them like codes. It saw them the same way factories use product categories or inventory labels. Each word marked a specific type, not a general idea. This discovery changed the direction of the research completely. The sentence about the 7th attempt no longer looked like an isolated event. It became part of a much larger pattern that spread across thousands of fragments. The team now understood that they were not reading simple stories. They were looking at records that described processes, classifications, and repeated actions over time. What started as a single strange sentence now pointed toward a system that operated in ways no one had expected. Humans as products. The system continued scanning thousands of fragments and slowly built a clearer picture. It did not show stories of people living normal lives. It showed categories. It showed groups defined by function. The first group appeared in records connected to heavy work. These texts did not describe choices or jobs. They described bodies made for labor. The scribes listed them the same way they listed tools and equipment. They had no personal names. They had no family records. They had no identity beyond the work they performed. The tablets referred to them as Lumeu. The second group appeared in a different set of records. Earlier scholars translated their name as dark-haired people and assumed it described ordinary citizens. The AI showed something else. These entries appeared almost only in farming records. They connected directly to land measurements, crop output, and irrigation planning. The system showed that scribes treated them like units tied to fields. The tablets recorded how much work each unit could produce. The AI compared all these records together. It showed that the texts did not describe a natural population. They described a controlled system. Each group existed to solve a specific problem. Each group had a fixed role and limited function. This understanding shifted the meaning of the earlier sentence. The failed attempts did not refer to ideas or myths. They referred to actual forms tested over time. The process looked organized and repeated. It followed a pattern of building, testing, and replacing. The Adapa shift. The tablets then pointed toward a single figure who did not follow the earlier pattern. His name was Adapa. The records described him in a way that no previous human appeared in Sumerian writing. The texts showed that Adapa did not belong to a fixed group like the earlier categories. He did not carry a simple task label. Instead, the tablets described him as a being with advanced ability and clear awareness. He could understand complex instructions and respond with thought, not simple action. The records from Akkadian tablets found at Amarna explained his role in more detail. They showed that Adapa lived in the city of Eridu, where he learned duties that required planning and decision-making. He handled rituals, managed records, and controlled temple work. These roles later became important for priests and leaders. This marked a clear change. Earlier, humans followed commands and performed physical tasks. Adapa did something different. He understood, interpreted, and acted with intention. The tablets also described another major difference. Adapa could reproduce. He fathered children, and his line continued without direct intervention. Earlier groups showed no such ability. Their existence depended on constant replacement. Adapa's line grew naturally and formed stable communities over time. This shift created a new problem. Knowledge did not stay limited to one individual. Adapa learned skills and passed them to others. His children learned from him and taught the next generation. Over time, more humans gained the ability to think, plan, and organize their lives. The tablets then described an event that changed everything. Adapa went out to fish in the Persian Gulf. A strong wind overturned his boat and threw him into the water. In response, Adapa broke the wing of the south wind. This act carried serious meaning in Sumerian belief. Winds represented divine forces that controlled natural balance. By damaging the south wind, Adapa disrupted a system that humans were not supposed to touch. The sky god Anu called Adapa to heaven to answer for his actions. This moment marked the first time a human entered the presence of the highest authority in the Dimming Order. During the meeting, Anu observed something unexpected. Adapa spoke with understanding and confidence. He did not appear confused or afraid. He understood where he stood and why he had been called. Anu realized that Adapa possessed knowledge that humans should not have. This created concern. A human who could think, learn, and act with awareness could move beyond simple control. Anu then tested Adapa by offering him the bread of life and the water of life. These gifts could grant immortality. However, Adapa refused them because Ea had warned him not to accept anything in heaven. This decision changed the future. Adapa kept his knowledge but lost the chance to become immortal. Humans would continue to think and learn, but they would remain mortal beings. The flood reset. The tablets then described a moment when everything changed again. Human populations had started to grow beyond control. Knowledge had spread from one generation to another. Skills continued to improve, and communities became larger and more organized. The tablets presented the decision in direct language. Enlil declared, "Let the womb be closed. Let the people be few." Soon after, another line followed with clear intent. It stated that the seed of mankind would be destroyed. This decision did not describe anger or punishment. It described control. The system moved from planning to execution without delay. The records then described the event in detail. Strong winds began to strike the land. These winds broke structures and scattered materials across the ground. Rain followed with heavy force. It fell so hard that people could not move or breathe easily. Then the waters rose from below. Rivers changed direction and flooded the land. Entire areas disappeared under moving water. Fields turned into deep currents within a short time. People tried to escape by climbing to higher ground. They moved toward the hills and temple platforms. However, the water rose faster than they could travel. The force of the flood pushed everything in its path. Animals trapped in enclosures could not break free. The ground beneath them collapsed, and the water carried them away. The destruction did not slow down or stop. It continued until everything had been covered. During this event, one man received special instructions. His name was Ziusudra, also recorded as Zusra in some texts. He lived in the city of Shurupak. The tablets described him as part of a protected line connected to Adapa. The hidden cycle. The researchers continued their analysis after understanding the flood event. They believed they had reached the end of the story. However, the artificial intelligence system kept finding deeper connections across the tablets. It began to focus on astronomical records that Sumerian scribes had preserved with great care. These records did not describe daily life or human activity. They tracked movements in the sky. The scribes observed stars, planets, and other objects with consistent attention. They recorded each change with detail and accuracy over long periods of time. Among these observations, one object appeared repeatedly. The texts called it the Star of Crossing. The scribes described it as a point where gods passed through. They did not treat it as a myth. They recorded it as a regular event that returned again and again. The system then connected this object with a number that appeared in the same texts. That number was 3,600, known as SAR in Sumerian records. Earlier scholars believed SAR only served as a counting unit. The artificial intelligence system showed a different pattern. The number appeared near records of major disruptions. It showed up alongside floods, fires, and sudden collapses of cities and kingdoms. Earlier historians studied these events as separate incidents. The artificial intelligence system placed them on one timeline and showed a repeating pattern. The Sumerian king list added another detail. After each collapse, a new system appeared quickly without gradual development. A new ruler, a new city, and a complete structure replaced the previous one. This change did not follow natural recovery. It looked immediate and organized. The system reached a clear conclusion. These events did not occur randomly. They followed a repeating cycle that controlled growth and reset civilization at specific intervals. This pattern suggested that the ancient scribes were not just recording history, they were documenting a system that kept operating across generations. Now, what do you think all of this really means? Do you believe these ancient tablets describe real events from the past? Or just myths that became more mysterious over time? And if even some of these patterns are true, what does that say about human history as we know it? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Also, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, because we'll be uploading more incredible stories like this one in the coming weeks. Until then, see ya.